You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Hey everybody. Oh, it is good to be back in the chair and talking with everyone. How you doing? Rachel?
I'm getting over the last bit of a cold, but otherwise I'm doing pretty great. You know, it's been raining and it's just,
for
cozy. It's sweater weather.
Yeah. Oh, it was raining this week, and the coziness of the rain was something I absolutely adored and have missed since we haven't really seen rain in a long time.
A long time, yeah.
So, oh boy. Well, thinking about rain and making things grow, that's a little bit where I'm going this week. Living in Minnesota, I know a bit about grass, and we have hundreds of acres of prairie where I work, and there are many species of grass growing there. The most iconic is big blue stem.
Oh, yeah.
And it grows an impressive 8 feet tall. So I am no stranger to big grass, okay?
It's 2.5 acres.
However,
no, it's
even
not.
big, yeah. 2.5 Rachels? You said what? You're not that
very
short.
wrong. No, it's like it was 1.5
That was some
Rachels.
bad math. Okay, that's better. However, even big blue stem pales in comparison to the largest grasses in the world. I'm talking about the bamboos.
Oh.
We haven't talked about this on the show, Rachel.
How have we not talked about bamboo? I have it like right in front of me right now.
Oh, awesome. The largest of these is Dendrocalamus sinicus.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's pretty close to how it's pronounced. It reaches, get this,
Sounds right to me.
46 meters. That's 151 feet into the air. That's
What?
Yeah. That is bigger than the one you have growing in your living room.
46 meters?
Yeah, 46 meters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
a tree, Kirk.
well, that's the thing. They do often have a role that is similar to trees. It is shocking how large they can get for those of us who live in places where bamboo doesn't grow and we don't see it in the wild. I think that, living in part of the world where bamboo is not ubiquitous also means that I probably don't have a really great understanding of how important bamboo is to the lives, livelihoods, and economies in parts of the world where it is common. And you mentioned trees, Rachel. I think in a lot of parts of the world, bamboo actually plays a similar role that trees do in places that have a lot of trees. Not that places that have bamboo don't have trees, but I mean, it's another natural resource that can also be used in ways trees are. Now, here's a really quick and not nearly comprehensive list of things that bamboo can be used for, more like categories than actual things. Because again, you could do a bamboo podcast and never, run out of talking about the stuff that's made out of it. We got all different kinds of food.
Absolutely.
Wine, firewood, art, building construction, like literally like walls and stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's like, it can be carved and detailed and whatnot. It's used to make paper, used to make clothes, which is not like hanging the bamboo off you. The fibers are turned into textiles.
The fibers,
Yeah, scaffolding. It's been used as scaffoldings, much like we use metal ones around here. You have fencing. It's some of the papers made out of it has been used in the desalination of seawater, which is amazing. Musical instruments, weapons, kitchen utensils, flooring, crafting materials. This just goes on and on and on. Humans have figured out amazing ways to use this plant. By one estimate I was able to find, bamboo accounts for over $100 million worth of global trade every year. And that doesn't even take into account the ecological services that it provides. So this is pretty impressive for what's essentially a big
That's
grass,
insane.
right?
A
Now,
grass.
a recent study
That's
about bamboo.
nuts.
Yeah, it's really nuts. A recent study about bamboo caught my eye, and it kind of blew my mind because it deals with a strange aspect of bamboo that was totally unfamiliar to me and I hadn't really thought about. Bamboo is an evergreen flowering plant. So this places them into a weird state when compared to trees. In general, we have like deciduous flowering trees, and then we have the non-flowering evergreen like conifers, like you think of like a Christmas tree type tree. And bamboo is an evergreen plant that produces flowers. Now, if you're familiar with bamboo, you may be thinking to yourself, you know, I've never actually seen bamboo flower. Have you ever seen bamboo flowers? The bamboo you have in your living room ever flowered, Rachel?
No.
Right. So
no, it is very tiny. No.
Right. Well,
I didn't know it could flower.
Exactly. There's a reason why you've probably never seen it. Bamboo takes a long time to flower. Some species only flower once every 120 years. Yeah. So you'd be forgiven for not having ever seen it happen, right? So here's the really weird part. You say you'll probably never see it. It kind of depends. Like, here's the weird part, though, and it's interesting you said about not ever seeing it flower, because you're probably thinking if you had that species in your living room, you've only had it for, let's say, 5 years. Well, you got to wait 115 years to see it bloom, right? But that's not how it works. They seem to have some sort of strange internal clock. If you take a cutting from a plant and start a new colony from it, the clock does not reset. It just keeps on going, and both the cutting and the original plant will still flower at the same time, and this is true even if it's like transported around the world.
What?
Right? So like
what?
Yes. Because essentially most bamboo you've ever seen was grown, it was propagated through cuttings. And so you just cut a piece off, stick it in dirt, it starts to grow. And that is a clone of the original. And it still has that same genetic internal clock ticking. And it knows how old the colony is that it came from. And it will flower at the same time as all the other cuttings that came from that same original plant. Now,
that's wild.
That's pretty awesome and amazing, but it poses also a pretty major problem. One of the most important species of bamboo grown today is called Phyllostachys nigra. It's also known as black bamboo. It's one of the ones that flowers once every 120 years. And researchers think we're about to see another flowering event. Wow, awesome, you think. We get to witness an event not seen in nature in our lifetimes.
Unless they're all clones.
Well, literally all the black bamboo in Japan, as well as some other parts of the world, are clones of each other. So they're all going to bloom all at once.
Oh, no.
Well, that sounds pretty awesome, right? Like just all these plants blooming.
Right.
Do you know what the problem is with that, Rachel?
There's like no genetic diversity, first of all, but also the pollen is going to be so bad.
Well, you are correct. They are wind pollinated, and they are going to release a ton of pollen. But that's, a short, lived thing. It's not part of the biggest issue. The bigger issue is that once bamboo blooms, it dies.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
no.
No one really researched or wrote down what happened 120 years ago when it last bloomed. So scientists are scrambling to figure out what's going to happen this time. Now, not every plant is an exact clone of every other. There's been a few clumps that have started to bloom over the past few years. So biologists have been able to study them to sort of get an idea of what might happen. And in one study site, nearly 80% of the bamboo in the study plot bloomed and then died once it bloomed over that approximately year period or so when the blooming took place. But weirdly, the plants that didn't bloom also died. Like the whole colony just died off. And even more interestingly and worryingly, the plants that bloomed did not produce any seeds, which, if you're familiar with how this works, is usually the point of blooming, right?
Right.
So there's something
that's the whole why you have a
weird
flower
going
in the
on.
first place is to get pollinated. So you produce the seed, and then you produce the seed, and the seed goes poof, and then you can die. You don't produce the flower and then die. What?
Right. It seems that at this point, black bamboo may be unable to reproduce by seed. So I think we've spotted the problem here, right? And you may be thinking,
I
okay,
wouldn't say so.
well, maybe it just continues on asexually and starts to cycle over, because that obviously, like, essentially propagating through rhizomes underground and new shoots come up. Like that's primarily how this plant spreads, especially if it's only flowering every 120 years.
Right. Unless the rhizomes die when the whole thing flowers.
Well, turns out it seems like they do. Now, these plants did send up some new shoots. They actually call them corms. They're not shoots, but we're going to call them shoots to not be confusing. They send up these shoots after the main ones die, but it seems like most of those died within 1 year, and all new growth was dead within 3 years in the study plot. There was nothing growing. And similar things have been reported in other studies, and was also noted back during the last mass blooming back in the early 1900s. So, or I guess it was 120, so it was late 1800s, not early 1900s. So this could be a disastrous situation in Japan, as the bamboo has cultural, economic, and ecological roles, all of which are important. And the rapid disappearance of bamboo is going to have to be mitigated somehow. The researchers in the paper I was reading think that the issue is that this species of bamboo may be unable to self-pollinate. And they all flower at once to release a massive amount of pollen, sort of like oak trees have like a mast season where they all drop tons of acorns. So they kind of save up and then all release pollen at once to increase the chance of the pollination working. But it's not working because it could be that it needs to cross-pollinate with like another variety or something to be successful. That's the thing. Researchers really aren't sure.
Maybe.
Why does this whole flowering thing not work?
We don't know.
And they don't produce any seeds. It's really, they just don't know. And that's super frustrating. Now, there is some good news.
We don't even know what bamboo seeds look like?
Well, it's not that they don't know what the seeds
Do
look
we know?
like. There's other species that seed, certainly. But like I think what I read was they put like traps, like cone traps and stuff on the ground, or sheets to like catch the seeds once they fall, and no seeds like ever came out. So they don't think that seeds were actually produced, which is wild. So it could be that this species just can't reproduce that way anymore. It lost that ability at some point. I did say there was some good news. Presumably this happened 120 years ago as well, right? And we have plenty of black bamboo today. So somehow it does seem to survive. And indeed, there are reports of this species growing in Japan for over 1,000 years. So unless something changed really recently to make it not be able to reproduce, like it's been through this before. There's going to be an interruption to society and the environment, but hopefully it will continue on. The researchers suggest that non-blooming stands that don't bloom at the same time as these ones should be identified and used for propagation. My only concern with that is, what if they're ones that bloom like 10 years later, right? And you like regrow everything, and then 10 years later it all dies again. Like that would be really bad.
We're like,
because remember, propagate, if you just cut it and move it someplace else, that timer does not restart, right? So,
which is also wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, luckily, bamboo grows quickly, and important stands could be reestablished, hopefully quickly. They also point out that there could be an upside, and if you're going to try to find an upside to this, because of how bamboo spreads and how densely it grows, it's extremely difficult to remove from places where you don't want it to grow. It becomes very invasive and very, difficult, expensive, and labor intensive to remove. A massive die-off could actually be an opportunity to manage bamboo in areas where people don't want it growing. So it's usually so expensive and
Right.
difficult and intensive and almost impossible because you leave a little bit behind and whoop, new stuff starts to grow. If it all dies off, you could come in and maybe till that all up and put something else in and, change habitat. If you're doing like a habitat restoration project or something like that, there could be reasons why you might want to do that. So, I mean, that's not the greatest thing, but it's something. It's some silver lining.
It's not awesome, but it's not awful.
Yeah. So when is this?
I
When is
guess.
this going to happen? You're probably wondering. We don't know. It's not an exact science, but what we do know, because we know approximately when it happened last time, it's going to be sometime they believe in the 2020s. So it's 2023. We've only got 7 years left. So sometime in the next 7 years, this is going to happen. It could happen next year. We just don't know exactly. No matter what happens, we do know that it is going to be an incredible learning process. And hopefully we can let people 120 years from now know what they are in for in the future. So my sources this week for this story
Write it down.
was this study, which is called Does Monocarpic, I gotta read this whole thing. Does monocarpic Phyllostachys niagara var hanois regenerate after flowering in Japan? ? Insights from 3 years of observation after flowering. That was in PLOS One earlier this year. And then also there was some information I got from the Economic, Social, and Environmental Assessment of Bamboo for Infrastructure Development, which was part of came from the Department of Mechanical Engineering Science at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa, and also some general information from Wikipedia. So that's what I've got this week.
Cool. Thanks, Kirk.
You're welcome. I thought that was just such a cool and interesting thing to share. And we'll probably get to do an update if we keep on doing this podcast for at least the next 7 years. We'll let you know when the bamboo all starts dying. God, that's depressing. Hopefully we will have more information to share. Let's go to a break.
That'd be great. Welcome back, everyone. So this week's topic, it has been on my list for a while, kind of. It's been in the back of my brain, but I haven't had it written down. And I got to thinking this past weekend about how, I don't know if this happens to you, Kirk, but I was thinking about how I don't think things are strange when they are strange anymore.
Oh, no. We've talked about this on the show before, Rachel. Like the stuff that we as professional naturalists run into and we go, well, that's just normal. That's not strange.
Just how it is.
You mentioned something to somebody at a party or something who is not a naturalist, and they're like, what? Like, that's bizarre. And you're like, oh, is it?
Huh.
All right, cool.
Exactly.
That's just what I talk about all the time.
It feels like I've almost become a little more jaded because I think of things like, oh, I guess that's kind of weird, but it's not weird enough when I think about topics for our show, especially because I'll look at something and be like, I guess that's weird, but it's not weird. So I decided to take a step back and really think about what the word strange means and go for my childhood favorite animal and go to basics. This week, we're talking about cheetahs, Kirk.
Oh, sweet. All right. Yeah, cheetahs, I mean, I think are an animal a lot of people are familiar with. So that's probably, I feel where you're like, well, is that weird? People have heard of a cheetah, but there's some weird stuff about cheetahs.
People know about cheetahs.
Oh, Rachel, tell me.
Absolutely.
Tell me all the weirdness. Let's do it.
Oh, good. So we all kind of know where I'm going with this. A cheetah is a big cat.
True.
Sort of. There's debate about it.
They're big compared to a house cat, but are they members of the big cats?
Exactly.
You mean like lions and tigers and...
No. So that's the debate, right? Because we all call them big cats, and there's debate between scientists on whether or not they're big cats.
Okay.
But generally speaking, the category of big cat is defined by two things: that they're part of a bigger family of Panthera or whatever.
Okay, makes sense.
And that they can roar.
So is this like lions,
Cheetahs
tigers, and mountain lions / panthers / cougars?
So it's actually lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars are able to. Because technically, mountain lions and panthers, I have to do more research into this, but I'm going to say it. I'm pretty sure they're very closely related to jaguars.
Okay.
But I could be wrong and be mixing that up.
So they're in the jaguar group, perhaps?
Yeah, I believe so. But I could be...
If someone knows otherwise, write in.
Accusation out there. Yeah, you could write in and let me know and tell me how wrong I am.
Tell Rachel she's wrong.
That would be totally fine.
contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. Or comment right there in the Podbean app.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, cheetahs aren't able to roar.
Right.
So they have more in common with your common house cat. They can purr, they can chirp, they can growl, and things like that. Reason why I was thinking about cheetahs more recently is because I got onto a video somewhere and there was a cheetah and it was just purring and I was like, oh, my cat does that. Huh, that's kind of strange, I guess. And then I thought about it more and I'm like, okay.
It's actually, when you take that step back you're talking about, it's actually stranger that you have a cat who lives in your house than it is that cheetahs purr.
Purr?
The fact that you have a miniature,
this. He does want to be outside all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
He looks a lot like a lynx, to be fair. So that is very fair. But we're digressing.
Yeah.
So cheetahs, just to give a brief description, because I'm pretty sure we all know, but just in case, it is a large cat with tan fur all over, with black spots all over, and then striping around their tails like little rings, like black striping around their tails, and then streaks down their face that would follow where tear marks would go.
Very cool.
There's actually a really interesting legend. When it comes to why cheetahs have tear marks and everything, but I'm not going to share it because I'm not part of that culture. Anyway, so they are anywhere from 5.7 to 7.1 feet long, which includes their tail. So they are longer than I am tall. They are more than one Rachel.
Perfect.
Their tail is actually a majority of a pretty big chunk of their length. It varies anywhere between 2 to 2.7 feet long.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Which is wild to me. But their tail is really important, right? One thing that I think we're all waiting on me to talk about is their speed. So cheetahs are the fastest land animal. Because they are the fastest land animal, they use their tail kind of like a rudder to be able to get them and be able to make very sharp turns. Okay?
Yeah, there's
without
photos
their
of this
tail, and
you can see online too, where a cheetah is like making a hard turn to the right, and their tail is like kicked out to the left for balance.
Exactly. And it's not only kicked out to the left, but oftentimes it's rotating here and there, and it's helping the cheetah keep balance because they're really long leg bodies. They are sprinters. It is wild. They can go in 3 seconds. They can go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds.
Amazing. Super amazing.
Which is so fast. Their top speed, they've been able to clock cheetahs up to, I think the fastest they found was like 80, but generally speaking, they go...
That's the number I had in my head is 80 miles an hour. Whew.
Yeah, it's like, that's like the top speed that they can get to. And they can't do it for very long, right?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to mention that.
Only can be maintained for about 300 yards. They're a sprinter. They are not a long distance runner. Kind of like me when I actually ran.
You were a long distance runner?
Anyway. No, I was a short distance runner.
Wait, you were a short distance runner or a short distance runner?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is really cool, right? The fact that they can go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, that's faster than most cars are able to go. Accelerate. I saw a piece of information while I was doing research. I think it was they're 27 times faster than the human. To give you all context for why this is amazing. Oof. Like we all know that it's amazing, the fact that they can go from 0 to 60, but the fastest man alive, Usain Bolt, his fastest sprint is 27 miles an hour. And a cheetah can go almost three times that in the same distance. Yeah. Which is
golly gee.
Sure.
That's incredible.
And literally no other land animal is able to do this. And part of it is because of that inner relationship between cheetahs and antelopes, right? Yeah. So they are able to run and chase their prey in order to get them. Because the prey, it's like this interlocking relationship. The prey keeps going faster and faster and faster. So in order to be able to catch them, the cheetahs, the ones who survive, are the ones who are able to catch the prey. Yep. And that speed gets passed on, and it just creates faster and faster animals, which is crazy.
Right.
Evolution at its finest.
Kind of makes you want a time machine then to see, like, if we were to go in the future, could we see cheetahs going even faster as antelope and springbok and impala and gazelles and whatnot all get faster as well?
Exactly.
I imagine at some point you run into some sort of physiological barrier where you just can't make a land animal go any faster.
I think cheetahs are starting to get there. Yeah. So they're actually the only surviving species of their genus. So there could have been other animals that were just as fast, which is wild.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely wild. And they are paying that price for that speed. Like you were mentioning, a lot of land animals don't get up to those speeds, right? And they can't because it's hard on the body to go that fast. They have, in order to be able to go that fast, they have to be able to breathe very, very quickly. They have to have really, really big lungs. They can't have really big teeth because their nasal passages have to be so large. Their teeth don't have enough space for roots to have really big teeth.
Oh, I would never even thought of that. So that's fascinating.
Right? So they can't fight things like lions because they live in similar habitats. So if a lion decides, I'm going to eat this gazelle that this cheetah came over, the cheetah took down, the cheetah has to leave because the lion will take him down because they're not going to be able to go. The cheetah will just leave.
Now, is this why don't cheetahs sometimes pull their prey up into a tree to eat it?
Those are leopards and jaguars who do that.
Okay.
They actually often get
a way to get it away from the larger big cat, but yeah, cheetahs. Mm-hmm. I thought they did that too.
Cheetahs can't climb.
I got it
so
backwards.
They're confused with leopards.
Yeah.
Very commonly, actually.
Not living in a place that has either, I tend to get the two mixed up sometimes.
That's fair. But because they also have those short teeth, the cheetahs can't chomp into the throat of their prey and cut the artery and everything, or they can't cut the jugular. Yeah. So oftentimes they're actually suffocating their prey, which is harder to do, but also
really
rough. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
Oh.
Yeah. I did not know that either.
Oh. So a couple of last things about cheetahs in the first place. So, a couple of things that are really unique. Females are the ones that are solitary, usually when it comes to big cats. Females are the ones that tend to group up together, right? Or even in animals in general, the females are the ones that tend to stick together and take care of cubs or the babies, and the males are the loners. It's the opposite in cheetahs. Males are the ones that hang out together and are social, and the females are the ones that are solitary.
Huh.
And they only stay like together long enough to breed, and then the females will raise the cubs on their own. And the males will stay together in a group, like with all of their other siblings, until pretty much for the rest of their life, more or less. But they don't go
bunch of
far
cheetah
away.
Dude bros.
More or less, yeah. Until they get to be the point where they're sexually mature at like 2. So they'll go anywhere. They can go as far as 300 miles away from where their mom is, which is wild.
Oh, wow.
And then just stay together.
That's good for spreading your genes around, yeah.
Yeah, which is really important because cheetahs do not have a lot of genetic diversity. They experienced some sort of bottleneck a number of years ago, about 10,000 years ago. So there's not a lot of genetic diversity, which is wild.
Blink of an eye. Yep.
Because there's 5 different species of cheetah in the world. There's different subspecies of cheetah, and they go anywhere from, I always picture them as just being in like Africa. They've been found everywhere from like Iran all the way. They've been reintroduced into India actually as well. So they've been occur all the way in through there, which is wild.
Side note, looking at DNA, researchers believe that humans also had a bottleneck at some point where our population was almost wiped out and then rebounded back.
Crazy.
Very cool.
That is wild.
Long ago.
Yeah, long time ago. I don't think we're experiencing that problem currently.
No, we kind of have the opposite problem right now, but that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I just wanted to mention about cheetahs is that they are pretty common in a zoo space, in zoos in general. They tend to be...
Sure.
But the thing about cheetahs is apparently the ones that are in captivity and are in the breeding programs, apparently they experience a lot of anxiety. So a lot of cheetahs get paired...
Oh, you don't say.
They do. So they get paired with dogs and they become friends. And they just...
Really?
Yeah, they will pair a cheetah with a dog and they become like an emotional support. The cheetah gets an emotional support dog to help deal with their anxiety. It's a really common thing that happens
they
in
wouldn't want
multiple
another cheetah
zoos.
because they live by themselves.
Yeah.
But if you had a dog there, that's like...
They're fine with it.
A different species. It's cool. We can hang out and...
It's pretty common, actually, in a lot of captive programs. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's a great way for them to be able to get them comfortable enough to be able to breed, as well as to be able to, just improve their overall happiness in captivity and things like that, too.
Sure. Which is going to help your health overall and everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about cheetahs, because I think about cheetahs. I used to think about them a lot more when I was a child, because they were my favorite animal. But I thought
of them more when I was a child. That's because there was a pizza place near us called Cheetah Pizza. But aside from that, yeah.
Wild.
I haven't thought of cheetahs in a while.
You know what? That's fair. Oh, one last...
Thank you for bringing cheetahs back into my life.
Anytime. One last little tidbit. So a lot of people say, well, yeah, cheetahs are the fastest land animal, but they're not the fastest animal. They are the fastest land animal, but there's only 10 other things that are faster than cheetahs, and they're all things that fly. So there is that.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that someday too. Some of those are kind of a cheat, I believe. They're sort of like powered flight is different than diving.
I agree.
In my book.
Oh, we were thinking about peregrine falcons, aren't we? Anyway.
We are. Yeah. I think the peregrine falcon number is kind of BS. Let's talk about it for a second. The record for fastest animal, people say, oh, it's a peregrine falcon. Kids tell me this all the time.
It's like 242
the way they
miles
got that
per
record
hour,
was the guy who tested this out was a falconer who had a pet, like essentially a pet falcon.
Right.
And the guy was also a skydiver. So he jumped out of an airplane with his falcon and then and threw a lure to the falcon. And the falcon, there was like a altimeter that could track how fast it was falling in the lure.
Mm-hmm.
And the falcon flew down and hit the lure and then how fast the lure was going. So the falcon was going faster than that because it flew down and sped up to get to it. And you go, okay, but peregrine falcons don't jump out of airplanes.
No, they do not.
Famously not a thing they do in the wild.
And they don't generally get that high
like,
either.
Right. And if you throw a human, like that skydiver jumped out of an airplane, do we take his speed that he was falling?
Mm-hmm.
I presume 9.8 meters per second squared or whatever it is. And you take that speed, is that the world record for how fast a human can fly or move? Like that doesn't,
it's not
falling out of an airplane
works.
Is not flying. Powered level flight, like chasing prey through a forest or an urban area or whatever. Peregrine falcons are very fast. I want to say the number in my head is like 40 miles an hour. I'd have to look it up, but like maybe 50. Like they can fly fast.
Yeah,
but it is not like the number they can get diving. And now, if you were to say, well, yeah, but they fly up and then they dive down, toward pigeons and pick them out of the sky, which they do. If they're doing an ambush like that, would I count the natural speed that they go in that dive as a record? Yeah, maybe. But I think it's a fun number. I'm not really inclined to believe that the value they got by jumping out of an airplane with a trained falcon is exactly representative of what they're doing in the wild. So if you have a radar gun, get out there, track down some peregrine falcons, tell us how fast they're flying and diving. You can email that to contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com or reach us on the Podbean app and just comment under the show.
I mean,
how's that? We'll put that in there, get you all to write in.
Time.
I'd love to hear about all the people with spare radar guns and spare time. There's got to be someone out there.
I mean, if anything, y'all could come
Give
visit
me
me because I know, I know people who ban peregrines. I'm up right in their territory. So
yeah, you're right. You're right in the neck of the woods.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that in the show sometime too.
We should. Anyway, my sources this week are the World Wildlife Fund, the Smithsonian National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, and Wikipedia. All gave me some really great information. So,
yeah, it's 56 miles an hour, by the way. I looked it up.
Oh, wow. Dang, that's not very fast. But that's the end of the show this week, everyone. So thank you all for listening and joining us this week. Kirk, it's been great. See you all next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.